Hello, and welcome back to MysHistory. I'm Rhonda, and this is where I talk about historical mysteries with the little subgenre of fact or fairy tale. And if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please consider subscribing. So, I got new lights, which is now you can really see the red in my hair. I got a new light. I feel so glamorous with my new light. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, so let's do a fact or fairy tale and we'll discuss Snow White. You all remember this Snow White story: magic mirror, poison apple, glass coffin, dwarves, a huntsman, an evil queen. Nothing else. The moral of Snow White could be a lesson in vanity. Snow White, a 19th century German fairy tale originally written by the brothers Grimm. Original title in Low German was Schneewittchen, and in High German was Schneewittchen. I think I got those right. I think. Let me know. My German's not existent. I can't even say it's rusty. The story itself would go through many revisions by the brothers until the final was completed in 1854. So as the story went, the queen was sewing on a snowy day when she pricked her finger with a needle. She had her window open, as we all do on cold, snowy days while we sit in the room sewing, and 3 drops of her blood landed on the fresh snow of the black window sill. It was here where she said to herself, "How I wish that I had a daughter that had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." And her wish would be granted. She would have a baby that she would name Snow White, her little beautiful daughter. Sadly, the queen would pass away during childbirth, as was common way back at that time. And her father, likely feeling lonely and being all like kingly and stuff, would marry a year later to a woman. She was beautiful. She was vain. She practiced witchcraft. And she had a magic mirror. She would ask her magic mirror, who was said not to lie, every morning the same question. "Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all?" And every day the mirror would tell her that it was she who was the fairest in all of the land, which made the queen very happy and likely inflated her already overly exaggerated ego. Excellent. Vanity. So, like I said, the mirror would tell the queen every day that she was the fairest one of all. Until it didn't. You see, Snow White had grown over the last 7 years. And when the queen had asked her mirror that same tired question that she asked it all the time, the mirror told her it was Snow White. The queen was enraged. Pissed. She started to hate her stepdaughter. Of course she did. So she hated her more and more with each and every passing day. And eventually, the queen would order a huntsman to take Snow White out into the forest and dispatch of her, and as proof that he did what he was told, he needed to bring Snow White's heart back to the queen. Apparently the queen was going to eat it so that she could remain immortal or beautiful forever, whatever. Ew. Brothers Grimm are dark. So dark. So anyway, the huntsman, yeah, okay, he takes young Snow White out into the forest and then has a crisis of conscience when he like raised his knife to like kill this girl. And he realized, oh crap, I can't kill her. Then he spills the whole entire plot by the queen to Snow White, who then begs him not to kill her and promises that she'll just run off into the forest and she will never, ever, ever return home again. And he was very moved by this, and she had tears in her eyes, and so he agreed to spare her life and he let her go. But he needed to have that dang proof that he did what the queen told him to do. So pretty sure he killed, like, Bambi and cut out Bambi's heart to bring to the queen. I don't know. Does it look any different than a human heart? I've never looked at a deer's heart. But apparently it worked. So there's that. Excellent. So you see, our dear young Snow White would wander through the forest for a time until she stumbled upon a small cottage that she just kind of waltzed right into because, she's a princess. I guess she's allowed to do that. No one happened to be home at the time. Probably a good thing for her. So she just made herself like right at home. She started eating the food, drinking the wine, and then found a nice bed to take a nap in. Because of course she did. So imagine the shock of 7 dwarves when they come home. And they're like, hey, what the heck happened to our little house? And who's this random girl sleeping in our bed? Like, what's this? So, she would explain how she had a plot against her life. And the dwarves would, of course, take pity on her and say, sure, you can stay here. And, I just kind of want to know which of the 7 dwarves lost his bed and where was he sleeping? Anyway, like I said, they agreed to let her stay and be their housekeeper. And then they would tell her, they were like, hey, you have to watch out. Like when we're not here, don't be just answering the door and letting random people in. We know how that worked. So, this arrangement seems to be going fairly well for a time. And meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen was likely pretty proud of herself for dispatching of her stepdaughter. But seriously, what did she tell the king happened to his daughter? Did he ask? Did he notice? That's not important, but, it's something that I always think of when I read stories like this. Anyway, it's a decade later. And I guess what the queen decided, not to talk to her mirror for like 10 years. Shocking. So she would go to her mirror one day, 10 years later. Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? And what did the mirror tell her? Oh, oops. Mirror told her it was Snow White. She was pissed off. She's like, this girl is still alive. That dang huntsman, he lied. And what? And then the mirror further tells her, the queen, that Snow White is living in the forest in some cottage. Like, seriously, how the heck did the mirror know that? I guess because it was magic. It's a magic mirror, Rhonda. Magic mirror. That's how. Right? That's how. So, like I said, the queen was crazy mad because she got lied to. And she's like, that's it. And she's going to take matters into her own hands and kill this girl herself. Charming. So she would do this first by disguising herself as a peddler and offering Snow White a colorful, silky laced bodice as a present. And she would lace it up herself, so tightly, in fact, that Snow White could not breathe and passed out from lack of oxygen. Luckily, the dwarves would return home just in time to loosen up the bodice, and then, Snow White was fine. Snow White 1, Queen 0. The queen shows up again, dressed as a comb seller, because I guess that was a thing. And she would convince Snow White to take this comb and put it in her hair as a gift. It was a beautiful comb, right? So she would comb it through, the queen combed it through Snow White's hair and then kind of placed it in, and it was laced with poison, and this would cause Snow White to pass out. And again, dwarves would come home. Oh no, and take this comb out, and miraculously then Snow White's fine. So now you get Snow White 2, Queen 0. You would think that Snow White would have learned not to accept gifts from strangers, but you would be wrong. So finally, the queen dresses as an old farmer's wife and offers Snow White a poisoned apple. Well, Snow White's feeling kind of I don't think this is such a good idea. And so the queen going, she's probably going to be on to me by this point. So she cuts the apple in half. And the queen takes the one half and eats it that is harmless, because only half of the apple was poisoned because, well, she's magic. And she gives the other half, the red half, to Snow White. So Snow White sees her eat this. Oh, well, I guess it's fine, even though her half is white and mine is red. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong indeed? Our little princess would go ahead and eat the apple and then fall into a coma. This time, though, the dwarves were not able to revive Snow White. And it seems the evil queen finally got her way. Evil woman is gonna evil woman. Evil woman. Seriously though, who's jealous of a child? I guess plenty of people. I can think even in modern times. Anyway, the dwarves, believing that the queen had finally succeeded in killing Snow White, would place her in a glass coffin and have a funeral for her. One day later, a prince would come across this glass coffin just hanging out in the woods, apparently. And, here lays Snow White. And she's probably dead. He was out on a hunting trip, and he's like, wow, she's gorgeous. So the dwarves would tell him the story of Snow White's demise, and then allow the prince to take Snow White to her father's castle so that she could be buried. Because, imagine. Your child was missing for 10 years and suddenly some random prince shows up at your door with your dead daughter in a glass casket. I found your daughter. Is there a reward? I'm kidding. But seriously, what did the queen tell him happened to Snow White? I have to know. I have to know. Do you know? Anyway. So they're transporting Snow White to her father's castle. And one of the servants kind of trips and the casket drops. And then the bit of poison apple that was stuck in her throat came flying out. And magically she was revived. And not at all cut apart by the glass coffin that had been dropped. And possibly, maybe it didn't break. I mean, if the glass slippers on Cinderella didn't break, I'm sure the glass coffin didn't either. But Snow White was alive. So once again, Snow White, she's fine. And the prince is giddy and beside himself with joy. Yay! And he would declare his love for the woman who he'd only seen in a glass casket. That's not creepy and weird. Snow White, happy to be alive, I'm sure, would be so happy to meet the prince that she would accept his offer of marriage. Because of course she would. Everyone across the land was invited to the wedding, except for the queen. Her stepmom. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen, always and forever in need of validation, would ask her mirror that same question and get met with the response that the bride of a prince is fairer than she. I'm sure the queen was livid. But come on, beauty fades. Okay? We can all try to slow down the hands of time, but eventually they're going to catch up to us, and there is going to be somebody prettier than you eventually. Or in my case, yes, they are. Unless the queen over here was, getting a facelift and Botox and injections, she was likely looking older herself. And so she decides that she must go and find out who this new threat is, because apparently there can be only one. She would arrive at the castle and learn that the prince's new bride was, in fact, the stepdaughter that she thought she killed. Oops. So the queen would create a scene and again attempt to kill Snow White. But the prince, having heard all about the queen's evil plot, would recognize the threat and order the queen to wear a pair of red-hot iron slippers and dance in them until she died, which is what happened. Snow White would go on to marry the prince, and as is always the case in fairy tales, they would live happily ever after. Yay. In 1937, Disney would make an animated film adaptation of the tale, as is typical for Disney, but they wouldn't make it quite as dark. There was still a mirror. There was still an evil queen who wanted a dispatch of her stepdaughter. The Disney version would give names to the 7 dwarves, and there was singing, because there is always singing in Disney movies. Another change was that Snow White would actually have met the prince before he saw her laying in the glass casket. Other notable changes were that it was only the apple attempt that killed Snow White. Snow White is more mature in the Disney version than what she was in the Grimm version. And the queen dies after being chased by the dwarves and then falling from a cliff and being crushed by a boulder. So, I guess it's still kind of dark, but, not as bad as red hot iron slippers, dance until you die. Anyway, Snow White still ends up coma-like in a glass casket, but she's revived. She marries the prince, and they live, of course, happily ever after. Seriously, Disney ruined romance for everybody. We had high expectations. I was supposed to meet a prince. I was supposed to get married to a prince. I'm married. He's not a prince. Great guy. But he's not royalty. And that's okay, because I don't think that I'd be okay being royalty. What do you think? Would you want to be royalty? Would you want to have that kind of ugh? I don't think I'd. At all. Other variations of the tale exist throughout Europe, Africa, and some Turkic traditions. The Middle East, China, and India. Apparently, there are somewhere around 50 variants of the story. And as a matter of fact, and interesting to note, the first version written by the brothers Grimm, it was not the stepmother, but it was actually Snow White's birth mother that wanted her child dead. Because someone said her daughter was prettier. Some mythical thing. your daughter's prettier, so you're going to kill your child. What's with all the vanity, ladies? Another variant was that the queen doesn't order a servant to take Snow White out to the woods to dispatch of her. The queen does it herself under the ruse that they're going to collect flowers, and then she just leaves her daughter out in the woods. Because that's Mother of the Year material right there, Casey Anthony. The change from mother to stepmother is theorized to have been done to the story for the sake of children. Because making them afraid of a step parent is better, I guess. According to who? So now is when I will actually have to be referring to my notes with even more frequency because there's a lot of information. Ooh. Did the Brothers Grimm get their fairy tale from an actual factual event? Scholars have had many theories over the years, including one by a German historian, Eckhard Sander. In 1994, he would publish, and I'll put the German title here, Snow White, Fairy Tale or Truth, in which he claimed that he had uncovered the account of the possible true story of Snow White. Mr. Sander would claim that the character of Snow White was actually based on the life of Margaretha von Waldeck, who was a German countess born to Philip IV in 1533. When she was 16, Margaretha's stepmother, Katrina of Hatzfeld, would force Margaretha to move to Brussels, where she would fall in love with the future Prince Philip II of Spain. This apparently didn't go over well with Margaretha's father and stepmother, as they deemed the relationship politically inconvenient. Poor Margaretha would die mysteriously at the age of 21 after an apparent poisoning. And sure, people could be quick to point the finger at the stepmother, her queen. But there are other accounts that point to the King of Spain having been the one to have Margaretha killed because he didn't approve of the relationship either. Royalty is so weird. Another scholar by the name of Graham Anders would compare the Snow White story to the Roman legend of Chione, which means snow in Greek, and was in Ovid's Metamorphoses. In this story, Chione is the most beautiful woman in all of the land. How beautiful, you ask? So beautiful that not one, but two gods were said to have fallen in love with her, and those gods were Apollo and Hermes. Hermes, who in Roman mythology is the god of translators and interpreters. And he would put Chione to sleep with the touch of his caduceus, and then he would rape her while she slept. Not to be outdone, Apollo, the Roman god of music, oracles, archery, medicine, and the sun, would disguise himself as an old crone, approach her, and then rape her again. Because apparently that's how you get a woman to fall in love with you. Except that it's not, and you will end up in jail, as you should. Anyway, Chione apparently took these as affirmations and affections shown to her by the gods. And then she would go out and declare herself to be more beautiful than the goddess Diane, who was the Roman goddess of wild animals and the hunt. If you have ever studied any mythology whatsoever, you know you never, ever compare yourself to a god or goddess. It's not going to end well for you. So we can all agree, Chione, not so smart with running around saying that she was more beautiful than Diana. And in the words of my high school mythology teacher, as fate would have it, and it always does, Diana would end up shooting Chione through the tongue with an arrow. That's a bad day. Bad, bad day. I'm pretty sure she died. She didn't just go to sleep. Then finally we have a theory that was put forth by a pharmacist/scholar by the name of Karl-Heinz Bartels. He says that he found evidence that Snow White was in fact Maria Sophia Margarete Catherine Baroness von und zu Arthur, and it's just too many words, and that's why they're all up there. Anyway, Maria was born in Lohr, a northwestern town in Bavaria, in 1725 to her father, Philip Christoph von und zu Arthur, who was the local representative of Prince Elector of Mainz. Maria's mother would die in 1738, and her father would remarry a woman by the name of Claudia Elizabeth von Reichenstein in 1743. Claudia was described as domineering and would maneuver things to the advantage of her children from her first marriage and away from Maria. Other than that, there doesn't seem to be any sort of bad blood or wishes on Claudia's part that Maria was dead. But there was a looking glass gifted to Claudia by Philippe, and it was said to have been a magic talking mirror that always told the truth. Well, that sounds familiar. Actually, if you're interested, you can go and gaze upon said looking glass at the Spessart Museum in the Lohr Castle. What are your thoughts? Fact or fairy tale? I mean, the two German stories kind of sound good in theory, but maybe they're just two simple stories from small German towns. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, so that you will be notified every time that I post a new video. And again, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you have a really great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.